What if the greatest obstacle to knowing God was your desire to know Him? It sounds like a paradox, but it reflects a dangerous truth. In today's spiritual marketplace of ideas, many embark on a quest for God that is merely frivolous speculation, an intellectual curiosity, a search for a God who fits their theories and serves their comforts. But as the theologian John Calvin warned centuries ago, this kind of knowledge is useless. It is like knowing the blueprint of a palace, but never walking its halls. What good is it to confess a God with whom we have nothing to do? Today, we will decode Calvin's antidote to shallow faith. We will unveil the 5 foundational revelations of true divine knowledge. Each one is a pillar, building upon the last, creating a fortress of faith that cannot be shaken. Prepare yourself, for the 5th revelation is the ultimate test of all true religion. Calvin's first revelation is the cornerstone. He states unequivocally that God cannot be truly known where there is no piety. This word, piety, has been corrupted by time. We associate it with a gloomy sadness or a showy self-righteousness. Calvin reclaims it and redefines it with military precision. For him, piety is that reverence joined with love of God, which the knowledge of His benefits induces. In other words, true knowledge is not a cerebral exercise. It is a transformation of the heart. It is the moment your soul understands that you owe everything to God, that you are sustained by His fatherly care, that He is the author of all good things, and that nothing should be sought outside of Him. False knowledge asks, "What is God?" True knowledge asks, "What is God's nature, and what does it require of me?" The first leads to debate, the second to worship. This is the first law of Calvin's code. Is your knowledge of God producing reverence and practical love in your life, or is it just a collection of dead facts? Calvin then presents us with a critical distinction. He teaches that there is a twofold knowledge of God. First, we know God as Creator. We see His eternal power and divine nature in the very fabric of the world, as the Apostle Paul writes in Romans 1:20. He sustains us, governs us by His providence, and fills us with blessings. This is the primary knowledge, available to all through the order of nature. But in mankind's fallen condition, this knowledge is not enough to save us. It renders us without excuse, but it does not reconcile us. That is why we need the second knowledge, to know God as Redeemer. And this knowledge, Calvin says, is found in only one place, in the face of Christ. Quoting the Apostle Paul directly from 2 Corinthians 4:6, he states that it is there we see the light of the knowledge of the glory of God in the face of Jesus Christ. Understanding this is fundamental. Knowing God as Creator gives us the foundation for reverence. But only by knowing Him as Redeemer in Christ can we approach Him as Father and find the grace of reconciliation. A faith that stops at the Creator is incomplete and ultimately unable to save. If this distinction is clarifying your understanding, show your support by clicking the like button. It helps us get this message to more people who are seeking depth. This revelation flows directly from the first. If God is the author of all good, then the logical consequence is total dependence. Calvin is emphatic. It is not enough to believe that God created the world and left it to spin. We must be persuaded that He is the active, present source of all good. He writes that not one drop of wisdom, of light, of justice, of power, of righteousness, or of genuine truth will be found anywhere which does not flow from Him, and of which He is not the cause. Consider the power of this statement. Your intelligence, it comes from Him. Your strength to face the day, it comes from Him. Any act of justice you perform, any glimpse of truth you comprehend, it is all a gift. This teaches us to do two things. First, to expect and seek all things from Him. When life oppresses us or scarcity afflicts us, our first reaction is not despair or self-reliance, but to run to His protection, awaiting His aid. Second, upon receiving any good, we must ascribe it all to Him with thanksgiving. This destroys pride and cultivates a grateful, humble heart. Here, Calvin takes us to the heart of the Christian experience. The pious mind is balanced on two seemingly opposite columns: reverential fear and unshakable trust. First, fear. Because the pious mind recognizes God as the just judge, armed with severity to punish wickedness, it keeps His tribunal ever before its eyes. This fear is not the dread of a slave, but the awe of a son before a holy and mighty Father. As it is written in Hebrews 12:28-29, we must serve God acceptably with reverence and godly fear, for our God is a consuming fire. But Calvin makes a brilliant observation. He says the believer refrains from sinning not only from fear of punishment, but because he loves and reveres God as a Father, and even if there were no hell, he would shudder at the very thought of offending Him. This is what gives rise to the second column, trust. Because this same judge is also his Father, his protector, his good and merciful guide. You rest in Him with secure confidence, certain that in His clemency there is a remedy prepared for all your ills. It is the echo of Psalm 34:8. "O taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man who takes refuge in Him." True knowledge of God holds both in perfect, holy balance. We have reached the summit, the final test. What is the purpose of all this knowledge? What is the point of piety, fear, and trust? Calvin's answer is the purpose of all life: sincere submission and worship. He says that the moment you truly contemplate God, you understand, I am His workmanship. By the very right of creation, I am subject to His dominion. His will must be the law of my life. This leads to his most searing critique. He looks at the world and sees what we see today: great ostentation in ceremonies, but sincerity of heart is rare. Pure and real religion, the end result of true knowledge, is not an external ritual. It is an internal faith joined with a serious fear of God, which produces legitimate worship. It is the fulfillment of what the Apostle Paul commands in Romans 12:1, to present our bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is our spiritual worship. It is not a show. It is not a song. It is the surrender of your entire life in voluntary obedience to the one who created you, redeemed you, and sustains you. That is the ultimate goal. The 5 revelations of Calvin's code are a map to move from the shallows into the depths of faith. First, piety, knowledge that transforms the heart. Second, twofold knowledge, revering the Creator, embracing the Redeemer in Christ. Third, total dependence, recognizing God as the sole source of all good. Fourth, fear and trust, the holy balance that sustains the soul. Fifth, true worship, the total surrender of your life as the only final purpose. Examine your foundation. Is your faith built upon these 5 pillars of rock? Declare your decision to seek this depth by typing with conviction in the comments, "My faith will be real." If this masterclass has given you weapons for your spiritual battle, like this video, share it with someone who needs this wisdom, and most importantly, subscribe to Living Word so you don't miss a single episode in our journey through Reformed theology. I am Oswaldo Mara, creator of the Living Word channel. Thank you for joining us.